The moment Monica Nelson began signing to the billionaire CEO's deaf mother, the entire restaurant froze, because her hands weren't just speaking kindness. They were revealing a secret that could destroy an empire. What started as a simple act of empathy would unravel lies, buried crimes, and a billion-dollar cover-up. Before we jump in, I want to know, where in the world are you watching from? And what kind of story do you crave next? Drop your answer in the comments below. If stories like this grip your heart and refuse to let go, well, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I've got another powerful story coming your way tomorrow, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Now let's get into today's story. Golden light from crystal chandeliers bathed the elegant tables of the Azure Pearl, a haven of quiet wealth in downtown Chicago. Monica Nelson adjusted her black shirt for the third time that evening, her hands steady despite the storm of memories threatening to break her calm. At 27, she had mastered the art of fading into the background, serving the city's elite with a practiced smile. "Table 6 needs their water refilled," called out Lisa, the head waitress, her eyes scanning the room. "And don't let Mrs. Morrow's son catch you lingering. Charles Bridges doesn't tolerate delays." Monica nodded, picking up the crystal pitcher that felt heavier than it should. Charles Bridges. The name carried the weight of a tech empire, a man whose presence commanded silence and respect. She'd been serving his table for weeks, and he'd never once seen her as more than a shadow. The dining room buzzed with the soft murmurs of people untouched by struggle, rent, past mistakes, the ghosts of a life stolen away. Monica knew that world once, in a time that now seemed like a distant dream. "Excuse me, miss." The voice was firm, edged with impatience that made Monica's breath catch. She turned to find Charles Bridges standing closer than she'd expected, his sharp blue eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that unnerved her. He was tall, his dark suit tailored to perfection, exuding the confidence of someone who shaped the future. "Your water, sir," Monica said softly, lifting the pitcher. "Slightly. Not for me." Charles gestured toward the silver-haired woman at the table behind him. "My mother. She's been trying to get your attention for the past 5 minutes." Monica's gaze shifted, and her heart skipped. Marguerite Morrow, elegant in pearls, her kind eyes sparkling with unspoken stories, was forming subtle hand gestures, her face alight with quiet hope. Without a second thought, Monica set the pitcher down and stepped forward. "Good evening, ma'am," she signed, her fingers weaving through the air with a grace born of years of practice. Marguerite's face broke into a radiant smile. "Oh, how delightful," she signed back, her hands trembling with excitement. "I wanted to ask about the wine. It reminds me of a vintage from Tuscany." Behind her, the restaurant fell into an eerie silence, but Monica was lost in Marguerite's animated signs about her travels and the isolation of a silent world. "You signed so beautifully," Marguerite added. "Where did you learn?" The question hit Monica like a jolt, and she froze, her carefully guarded facade cracking. "Just some classes," she signed quickly, her heart racing. "Nothing special." "Nothing special?" Charles's voice cut through the stillness, sharp and curious. He stepped closer, his gaze piercing. "You move like someone trained. What else are you hiding?" The air thickened with unspoken questions as the diner's eyes turned toward them. Monica felt Lisa hovering nearby, her disapproval palpable. "I should get back to work," Monica murmured, reaching for the pitcher. "Wait." Charles's hand brushed her arm, not harshly, but enough to stop her. The touch sent a shiver through her, and she saw a flicker of surprise in his eyes. "That was uncalled for," he said, his tone softening. "My mother likes you. She doesn't warm to many." "She's lovely," Monica replied, her voice low. "She was telling me about Tuscany." Charles's expression shifted, a hint of vulnerability breaking through. "Maybe because most don't bother to listen." The word slipped out, carrying a weight she hadn't intended. His eyebrows lifted, and a faint smile tugged at his lips. You think I don't listen? I'm used to people saying what I want to hear. His smile grew, transforming his stern face. You know, you're not what I expected. What's your story? Monica felt the ground shift beneath her, trapped between the truth that could unravel her new life and the growing intrigue in Charles's eyes. Marguerite watched, her knowing smile suggesting she saw more than either of them realized. I studied linguistics, Monica admitted at last, the confession tasting like ash. Charles's eyes narrowed, a mix of surprise and respect flickering across his face. Linguistics? That's no small feat. What brought you here? The question pierced her defenses, stirring memories of a career lost to betrayal and a name buried under lies. Sometimes life takes unexpected turns, she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. As the silence stretched, Marguerite signed playfully, You two should talk more. My son needs someone real. What did she say? Charles asked, his tone laced with suspicion. Monica hesitated, heat rising to her cheeks. She said you worked too hard. Charles chuckled, a sound that drew curious glances. That's not all, is it? My mother's up to mischief, and your blush confirms it. Trapped, Monica relented. She thinks you need interesting people in your life. Charles glanced at his mother, then back at Monica, his gaze intense. And are you interesting? The question hung between them, charged with possibility. Standing so close, she caught the scent of his cologne, subtle, expensive, and noticed the lines of exhaustion around his eyes. I think, she said carefully, you're used to people wanting something from you. I just want to do my job. His smile faded, replaced by a thoughtful look. Fair enough. But this isn't over, Monica. Nelson. I have questions, and I suspect you have answers that might change everything. Her world teetered on the edge, the weight of her past pressing against the fragile shield she'd built. As she turned back to her duties, the memory of a stolen future began to stir, ready to reshape the path ahead. The shift change at the Azure Pearl came like a mercy, the clock ticking past midnight as Monica slipped out the back door into the crisp Chicago night. Her red skirt swished against her legs, a remnant of the uniform that felt more like armor than attire. The L train rumbled overhead, its light streaking across the empty alley like fleeting accusations. She boarded without a glance back, the car half empty, filled with night shift workers nursing coffees and exhaustion. Monica claimed a window seat, staring at the city blurring by, towers of glass and steel that once promised her a place at the top, now just indifferent sentinels. South Side greeted her with a familiar hum of life persisting against odds. Corner stores glowing under fluorescent halos, laughter spilling from stoops, the distant wail of sirens that never quite reached her block. Her apartment building loomed at the end of a cracked sidewalk, a modest brick four-story with fire escapes like skeletal ladders. Rent was cheap, neighbors kept to themselves, and the lock on her door, bolted twice, offered the illusion of safety. She climbed the stairs to the third floor, keys jingling softly, and let herself into the one bedroom that smelled faintly of jasmine from the candles she burned to chase away the shadows. The space was sparse, deliberate in its anonymity, a futon against one wall, a kitchenette with mismatched mugs, a single shelf of paperbacks dog-eared from library loans. No photos, no art, nothing that whispered of the woman she'd been. Monica kicked off her flats, the cool linoleum grounding her, and crossed to the closet. She knelt, prying up a loose floorboard with practiced ease. Beneath lay her vault, a shoebox cradling the relics of Monique Carter, a framed diploma from MIT, edges yellowed, a plaque for the AI Innovation Award, her name etched in gold, and the USB drive, small as a promise, labeled in her precise handwriting, C-loop. Prototype. She traced the letters, the plastic warm from her palm, then slid it all back into hiding. The floorboard clicked into place, sealing away the ghost. She rose, shedding the uniform for worn sweats and a faded tee, then sank onto the futon with a mug of chamomile tea steaming in her hands. The apartment fell quiet, save for the tick of a thrift store clock and the muffled bass from the unit below. Resilience, she reminded herself, was in the small acts, the breath she took without shattering, the shift she survived without breaking. But tonight, the encounter at the restaurant lingered like smoke. Marguerite's delighted signs, Charles's probing gaze, they'd cracked something open, a fissure through which old doubts seeped. "What else are you hiding?" His words echoed, not accusing but hungry for truth. She sipped her tea, willing the warmth to steady her pulse. Hiding was survival, not shame. 2 years of low-profile jobs, barista at a hole-in-the-wall cafe, tutor for neighborhood kids, had woven her into this new skin. Monica Nelson, unremarkable, unseen. It was enough. It had to be. Her mind drifted, unbidden, to the before. 2 years earlier, the lab at Stanford's AI wing buzzed with possibility. Dr. Monique Carter, 25 and rising, paced before a whiteboard, scrawled with algorithms that danced like light on water. Her team, eager grad students, a grizzled mentor named Dr. Ellis, huddled around her as she demoed the prototype. "Watch," she'd said, voice steady with the thrill of creation. On screen, her hand signed a simple phrase, "The future is accessible." The C-Loop AI translated it fluidly into speech, the voice. Warm, human, laced with inflection that captured the poetry of gesture. Gasps rippled through the room. "This isn't just tech," Ellis had murmured, clapping her shoulder. "It's revolution, for the deaf, for the silenced." The conference in San Francisco had sealed her ascent. Sponsors swarmed her booth, venture capitalists slipping cards like secrets. That's where she'd met the Morotech reps, slick suits from the Chicago powerhouse, led by Greg Morrow, a silver fox, with a disarming grin. "Monique," he'd said, shaking her hand too. "Long, your work could change lives. Let's partner." Flattered. Ambitious, she'd signed the NDA that night, sharing code snippets over wine. The collaboration bloomed fast, Morotech's resources fueling her refinements, deadlines blurring into all-nighters. Until the scandal hit. It started with an email, anonymous, damning, accusing her of data theft from a rival firm. Leaked chats, fabricated timestamps, her name dragged through tech blogs overnight. Rising star or corporate spy. The headlines screamed. Protests erupted outside her apartment. Death threats clogged her inbox. Ellis distanced himself with a curt statement. The team scattered. Morotech? Silent, then severed, claiming ethical concerns. In the fallout, Monique vanished, erased from publications, blacklisted from grants. Greg Morrow's face on the news, decrying betrayal in innovation. She knew then, her code, her baby woven into their upcoming product. Stolen, repackaged, hers no more. The memory clawed at her chest, hot and familiar. Monica set the mug down, fingers trembling as she pressed them to her temples. Quiet resilience meant not crumbling, not tonight. She rose, padding to the window overlooking the street. A lone figure hurried by under the sodium glow, collar up against the wind. Like her, just navigating the dark. She exhaled, long and slow, rebuilding the walls brick by invisible brick. The USB drive held proof, timestamps, originals, but exposing it meant facing the machine that had ground her down. Not yet. Maybe never. Across town, in a penthouse. Atop the Morotech Tower, Charles Bridges shed his suit jacket with a sigh that echoed off floor-to-ceiling windows. The city sprawled below, a glittering chessboard he usually commanded without question. Tonight, though, the board felt tilted. He poured a scotch, neat, no ice, and sank into the leather armchair, facing his desk, the amber liquid catching the lamplight. Marguerite had retired early, her smile lingering in his mind, but it was the waitress who haunted him. Monica Nelson. Her signs had flowed like water over stone, effortless, intimate. Linguistics, she'd said. Columbia? No, that slip. About studying it, the evasion in her eyes. Something didn't add. Charles booted up his laptop, the screen's glow harsh in the dim room. A quick search, Monica Nelson, Chicago waitress. Zilch. No LinkedIn, no socials, not even a faded MySpace relic. He widened it, Monica Nelson Linguistics, and hit the same void. Birth records? Sealed or scrubbed? The absence gnawed at him, a puzzle missing its center. In his world, people left trails, tweets, reviews, digital exhaust. But Monica? A ghost in the machine. He leaned back, swirling the scotch, the burn matching the spark of intrigue. Who hid so completely? And why did her poise, that quiet fire, pull at him like a current? He thought of Marguerite's joy, the way her hands had danced freer than in months. Invite her. She'd signed later, insistent. Charles had nodded, but now, staring at the blank search results, he wondered what doors that might open. Or slam shut. His phone buzzed on the desk, a speech-to-text from his mother, her words blooming. On the screen in precise blue font, "That girl has a story. Find it." Charles stared at the message, the scotch forgotten. He would. He had to. What secrets do you think Monica's hiding? Drop a comment below, let's speculate. The weekend arrived like a reluctant guest, the Chicago air turning crisp with the promise of autumn. By Saturday evening, the Azure Pearl thrummed with its usual rhythm. Clinking glasses, murmured deals sealed over foie gras, the faint strains of a jazz quartet weaving through the velvet drapes. Monica moved through it all with mechanical grace, her black shirt crisp, red skirt a splash of defiance against the monochrome suits. 5 days had blurred since that charged encounter, but the echo of Charles's gaze lingered, a shadow she couldn't quite shake. She doubled her vigilance, smiles tighter, responses shorter, eyes down. Survival demanded it. The dinner rush crested. Around 8, tables a mosaic of power players, nursing ports, and egos. Monica balanced a tray of desserts, creme brulee crackling under silver spoons when Lisa waved her over to the hostess stand. Front entrance. VIP. Handle it. Personally. Monica nodded, weaving through the crowd, her pulse steady, until she rounded the corner. There, framed in the foyer, like a portrait come to life, stood Marguerite Moreau. Silver hair swept into an elegant chignon, pearls gleaming against a cashmere wrap. She exuded the quiet authority of someone who'd navigated silence and society with equal poise. No entourage, no fuss, just her, scanning the room with those kind, story-filled eyes. Monica's steps faltered. Marguerite's gaze locked on, lighting with recognition, and she raised a hand in a gentle wave. "Ma'am," Monica said, approaching with a warmth she didn't feel. "Welcome back. Your table." Marguerite shook her head, a soft smile curving her lips. She pulled a small notepad from her purse, elegant leather, monogrammed, and scribbled quickly, then flipped it toward Monica. "Not dining tonight. Here for you." Monica's throat tightened. "Me?" The older woman nodded, then set the pad aside. Her hands lifted, fluid and expressive. "Thank you again for seeing me. Truly." Each sign carried weight, a bridge built in. Gestures. "You've given me a gift." Joy in a place too loud for words. Warmth bloomed in Monica's chest, unbidden, chasing the chill of caution. It was nothing, she signed back, her fingers betraying a hint of the fluency she tried to downplay. Just being human. Marguerite's eyes sparkled. Mischief glinting. Humanity is rare here. She paused, her expression turning earnest. Come to our gala. Moroteca's charity event. Next Friday. For accessibility tech. You'd honor me. The invitation hung in the air, signed with such sincerity it pierced Monica's armor. Panic surged, hot and immediate, a tidal wave crashing against the seawall of her resolve. Morotech. The name alone conjured ghosts, boardrooms slick with lies. Headlines that had branded her a thief, the cold click of a door slamming on. Her old life. The gala? A lion's den, crawling with the very architects of her. Erasure. Faces she'd recognize, voices that had whispered her downfall. Refusing. Might seem rude, suspicious. Why dodge a simple thank you? But accepting it risked everything. One slip, one probing question, and the fragile threads of Monica Nelson would unravel, spilling Monique Carter into the light. I'm flattered, Monica signed, her hands slower now, buying time. But I'm just a waitress, not gala material. Marguerite's brow furrowed. Insistent. Nonsense. You're more. Charles agrees. She glanced toward the entrance, where a familiar figure emerged from the shadows. Charles Bridges. Hands in his pockets, his dark suit absorbing the chandelier's glow. He approached with measured steps, his presence shifting the air like a gathering storm. Mother, he said, voice low, then nodded to Monica. Ms. Nelson. Marguerite beamed, signing rapidly to him. Tell her. She must come. Charles's lips quirked, a reluctant amusement softening his sharp features. She's relentless, he explained, eyes meeting Monica's with that unnerving intensity. And right. The gala's next week. It's for a good cause, Tech. That bridges gaps, like the one you crossed so effortlessly the other night. Monica's mind raced. Barriers rising. Say no. Walk away. But his tone held no demand, just a quiet persistence that tugged at her. And Marguerite, vulnerable, vibrant, watched. With such hope. Refusal would dim that light, and something in Monica recoiled. At the thought. It's just a dinner, Charles added, stepping closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial murmur. My mother will be disappointed if you don't come. Devastated, even. And I'd like to hear more about that linguistics background of yours. The words landed like a challenge wrapped in silk. Monica searched his face, those blue eyes, steady and searching, holding a flicker of genuine curiosity amid the polished confidence. He saw her, not as the apron-clad shadow, but as the calm strength she buried. Deep. Intelligence, he called it once, in that fleeting restaurant hush. Mutual. Respect simmered there, laced with tension, her guarded edges against his probing warmth. She sensed sincerity in him, a rarity in this world of transactions, but trust? That was a bridge too far, burned long ago. Her heart hammered, the internal war raging, panic clashing with the pull of connection, the whisper of possibility. Expose herself? Or fade further into invisibility? The restaurant's hum faded, the decision narrowing to this moment, these three souls caught in its gravity. All right, Monica said at last, the word escaping on a breath. I'll come. Marguerite's hands flew in. Delight. Wonderful. I'll send details. While Charles's smile broke. Fully, transforming his face with unexpected warmth. You won't regret it, he promised, though his eyes held a question unspoken. What are you really bringing to my world? As they departed, arm in arm, Monica watched them go, the door swinging shut behind. She leaned against the hostess stand, Lisa shooting her a quizzical glance. Alone again in the golden light, Monica whispered to herself. One night can't undo 2 years of Hiding. What would you do in Monica's shoes? Go or ghost? Comment what you will do below. The week dissolved into a haze of shifts and second thoughts. Each day at the Azure Pearl a reminder of the line she'd crossed. Invitations arrived via courier, a sleek envelope with embossed gold, detailing the Morotech Gala at the Innovation Tower. Black tie optional, cause bridging worlds through tech. Monica stared at it in her dim apartment, the cardstock heavy as judgment. She could still back out, feign illness, ghost the event. But Marguerite's hopeful signs echoed, a tether she couldn't sever. By Friday, she'd unearthed a dress from the back of her closet, simple black silk, knee-length, cinched at the waist. No frills, no flash, just her, unadorned. The tower rose like a monolith against the twilight sky, its glass facade reflecting the city's pulse in fractured lights. Valets swarmed the entrance, limos disgorging Chicago's elite in a cascade of glittering gowns and tuxedos sharp as knives. Photographers' flashes popped like distant gunfire, capturing corporate smiles that never reached the eyes. Champagne flutes chimed in manicured hands, the air thick with perfume and ambition. Monica stepped from the cab, the cool October breeze nipping at her bare arms, and smoothed her dress. Heads turned, not in pity, but curiosity. The understated elegance cut through the ostentation like a shadow through spotlights. Whispers rippled. Who is she? A brunette in emerald velvet paused mid-sip. A silver-haired exec tilted his head. And then, across the grand foyer, Charles Bridges. He stood amid a knot of admirers, scotch in hand, his navy tuxedo molding to broad shoulders. Laughter. Lines crinkled his eyes as he nodded to a quip, but his gaze snagged on her. Sharpening. The crowd parted subtly as she approached the check-in, his path. Converging like fate scripted in steel. Ms. Nelson, he said, voice warm over the jazz quartet's swell. You came. The way he said it, surprise, laced with pleasure, stirred something wary in her chest. I did. She met his eyes, steady despite the flutter. Up close, sans the restaurant's haze. He was disarmingly human, faint stubble shadowing his jaw, a loose cufflink. Glinting gold. You look. He trailed off, searching for the word, his usual polish fraying. Radiant. Come, let me introduce you. Polite yet insistent, he offered his arm, a gesture both chivalrous and inescapable. Monica hesitated, then took it, the fabric of his sleeve cool against her skin. Mutual respect hummed there. Tentative, a spark of calm strength he seemed to admire, tension coiling beneath. Like an uncharted current. She sensed his sincerity, the way he lingered on her. Words, but trust remained a locked vault, keys long lost. The ballroom unfolded in opulence, crystal chandeliers dripping light like molten stars, tables swathed in ivory linens, waitstaff gliding with trays of caviar and canapes. Marguerite spotted them first, waving from a cluster of donors, her gown a soft lavender. That echoed her grace. You came. She signed, pulling Monica into a hug. That smelled of lavender and resolve. Beautiful. Like you belong. The words, silent and sure, eased the knot in Monica's throat. She signed back, thank you. For everything. They chatted in gestures, Marguerite's tales of past galas, laced with wry humor, while Charles hovered, translating snippets for the uninitiated with a patience that surprised her. He watched her not possessively, but with a quiet intensity, as if piecing together the woman behind the signs. Intelligence flickered in his glances, a mirror to her own. Guarded poise. Tension simmered, his world pulling at hers, her secrets a barrier he probed without force. The evening unfolded in a blur of handshakes and small talk, tech moguls droning on patents, philanthropists touting causes. Monica navigated it with nods and deflections, her simple dress a shield amid the sequins. Then the lights dimmed, the MC's voice booming, and now, a highlight of our accessibility initiative, the unveiling of C-Loop AI, revolutionizing communication for the hearing impaired. The massive screen behind. The stage flickered to life, projections dancing across the walls. A demo reel. Hand signing fluid phrases, the AI's voice overlaying with seamless warmth. Hello, world. The crowd murmured approval as code snippets scrolled, elegant. Loops, her elegant loops, translating gestures into speech with uncanny nuance. Monica's breath caught, the room tilting on its axis. There, in the archival footage, a young woman's hands demoing the prototype, her handwriting on the whiteboard precise, looping MS and CS. Monique Carter, 2023. Flashed. For a split second, then gone, overwritten by Morotech branding. Her invention. Stolen. Repackaged. Paraded as theirs. The betrayal crashed over her, hot and visceral. Greg Morrow's grin from that long-ago conference. The NDA's fine print. The fabricated scandal that had buried her alive. Proof, undeniable. Blooming on the screen like a wound reopened. Her knees buckled, she gripped the table's edge, vision blurring. The applause swelled, oblivious, but Marguerite, ever attuned, turned, her face paling as she caught Monica's pallor. You recognize it? She signed gently, hands soft with concern, eyes searching. The question pierced, a lifeline laced with dread. Monica nodded once, throat closing. Lies. All of it. The empire built on her bones, celebrated here in champagne toasts. She couldn't breathe, couldn't stay. Excusing herself with a murmur, headache, she wove through the throng, the glittering gowns blurring into a cage. The exit loomed. She pushed through, the cold Chicago night slapping her face like awakening. Wind howled down the avenue. Leaves skittering like secrets scattered. Monica leaned against the towers. Cool glass, gulping air, her simple dress no match for the chill. Footsteps. Echoed, urgent, familiar. Monica, wait. Charles burst through the doors, jacketless, tie askew. What's wrong? You vanished. She straightened, steeling, herself against the concern in his eyes. It was too much, his sincerity, the night's facade crumbling. Go back inside, she said, voice raw. Enjoy your triumph. Not without answers. He stepped closer, the streetlights carving shadows across his face. That demo, you reacted like it was personal. Her laugh was bitter, short. The truth clawed up, demanding release. But not all of it. Not yet. She met his gaze, the words ablade. Tell your board they built their fortune on a lie. Then turning into the night, she walked away, the city's hum swallowing her steps, leaving him in the cold. What lie do you think Monica's hinting at? Share your guess in the comments. Charles stood frozen on the sidewalk, the wind slicing through his tuxedo like a rebuke. Her words, tell your board they built their fortune on a lie, hung in the air, a gauntlet thrown at the feet of his empire. He replayed the demo in his mind. The C-Loop AI, Morotech's crown jewel, unveiled to thunderous applause while Monica's face drained of color. Personal, she'd said. No, devastating. He hailed a cab, the ride back to his penthouse a blur of neon and doubt, the scotch from earlier souring in his gut. Sleep evaded him that night. The city's glow seeping through blackout curtains like an accusation. By dawn, resolve hardened. He couldn't dismiss her. The intrigue from the restaurant had deepened into something sharper, a disturbance that gnawed at his certainty. Morotech wasn't just his inheritance, it was his armor, forged in his father's shadow. But if cracks ran through it? He dressed in jeans and a cashmere sweater, the casual armor of a man unmoored, and headed to the office before the sun crested the lake. The archives occupied a sublevel of the Innovation Tower, a climate-controlled vault humming with servers and dust motes. Charles waved off his assistant's morning briefing, keying in his executive code to access the restricted drives. The interface blinked to life, a labyrinth of folders labeled by decade, project, scandal. He started broad. C-loop origins. Pages of sanitized reports scrolled, patents filed under Morotech, timelines scrubbed clean. But her accusation echoed, urging him deeper. He bypassed the public logs, diving into the encrypted backups his father had hoarded, relics from the pre-cloud era. Hours blurred, coffee. Cooling untouched. Then a hit, a buried subdirectory project. Echo, redacted. His pulse quickened as files unzipped, emails, contracts, a grainy scan of an NDA. And there, in a chain dated 2 years back, Monique Carter, data integrity breach. The name landed like a stone in still water. Dr. Monique Carter, AI researcher, Stanford affiliate. Accused of pilfering proprietary code from a rival, her contributions to C-Loop flagged as compromised. Blacklisted, erased from co-authorships, her digital footprint torched in a single executive memo signed by Greg Morrow. Charles leaned back, the chair creaking under him. Internal conflict roiled, loyalty to the family name clashing with the cold facts unfolding. Greg, his late father's partner, the uncle who'd mentored him through boardroom battles. This? A cover-up. Deliberate and surgical. Monique's prototype notes peeked through the redactions, elegant algorithms for sign-to-speech, timestamps predating Morotech's innovation. Her work, woven into the fabric of their flagship product, then severed at the root. He rubbed his temples, the weight of complicity settling. How many others had been silenced for the empire's shine? And Monica, her fluency in sign, her guarded eyes. Coincidence? Or the ghost of Monique staring back? He printed the files, hard copies, untraceable, stuffing them into a leather satchel. The elevator ride to the executive suites felt like ascent into judgment. Marguerite's apartment adjoined the top floor, a sanctuary of books and plants overlooking the lake. He found her in the sunroom, fingers flying over a tablet, her silver hair catching the light. She looked up, sensing his turmoil before he spoke. Charles? She signed, setting the device aside. You look haunted. He sank onto the chaise, pulling out the printouts. Mother, this C-Loop demo last night. It shook someone. Monica. She said we built our fortune on a lie. He slid the pages toward her, watching her eyes scan the text. Monique Carter. The name drew a sharp intake, her hands stilling. Monique. Marguerite signed slowly, recognition dawning like dawn-breaking storm clouds. The conference. San Francisco, 2 years ago. Tech for All Summit. Charles leaned forward. Tell me. Her gaze distant, she began. I was there for the accessibility panel. So many talks on voice tech, but hers, a young black woman, brilliant, poised. Dr. Monique Carter. She demoed a prototype, sign language to fluid speech, capturing nuance, emotion. It moved me. For the first time, I saw a tool that didn't pity the deaf, it empowered. Her hands trembled slightly, signing faster. We spoke after. She was generous, sharing code ideas over coffee. Then poof, gone. Her project vanished. From follow-ups, her name scrubbed. I asked around, whispers of scandal, theft. But I wondered. The pieces slotted, jagged, and inevitable. It's her work, Charles murmured. Stolen. Repackaged as ours. Greg. Marguerite's expression hardened, a fierce protectiveness flaring. That girl at the restaurant, Monica. Her signs, that poise. It's her. Monique. She signed with conviction, eyes locking on his. Find her. Make it right. He nodded, the internal storm raging, betrayal's bitter taste mingling with a fierce resolve. For his mother, for the truth he'd ignored too long. But as he left, the satchel heavy. At his side, doubt lingered. Could he dismantle what he'd built without losing it all? Meanwhile, across the city, in her South Side apartment, Monica moved with the grim efficiency of someone who'd fled before. Dawn light filtered through threadbare curtains as she folded clothes into a battered suitcase, practical layers, no traces of the life she'd stitched together. The Azure Pearl shift loomed, but she'd call in sick, then quit via email. Chicago had been a refuge, fragile as frost, but the Gala's ghosts had thawed it. Moroteca's demo replayed in her mind, her code, her handwriting, flaunted like a trophy. Exposure loomed, a noose tightening. Better to vanish again, maybe Seattle this time, or Atlanta. A new name, a new, low-profile grind. Resilience, she told herself, folding a scarf with shaking hands. Not defeat. The USB drive went into a hidden pocket, her diplomas left behind, too risky to carry ghosts. She paused. At the mirror, tracing the lines of exhaustion under her eyes. Dr. Monique. Carter stared back, accusatory. Run, the reflection urged. They'll bury you deeper. A knock? No, the soft scrape of paper under the door. Monica froze, heart slamming. She crossed the room in 3 strides, snatching the envelope. Plain, no stamp. Inside, a single typed line: if you run again, they win. Meet me tomorrow. C.B. Charles. Panic and possibility collided, her fingers crumpling the note. He knew enough to chase, to corner. But the words pierced. They win. Greg Morrow, the board, the machine that had devoured her once. Running handed them victory, eternal. Silence. Meeting him? A gamble, flames licking at her edges. She sank to the floor, the suitcase forgotten, the note a talisman in her fist. Tomorrow. The clock ticked. Onward, the city indifferent. Would you confront the past or keep running? Tell me. In the comments. Dawn broke gray and sodden over Chicago, the sky unleashing a steady rain that drummed against Monica's window like insistent fingers. She hadn't slept, the note's words etched into her mind, a dare wrapped in empathy. If you run again, they win. Charles Bridges, probing persistent, had unearthed enough to hunt her down, yet his plea rang with something raw, not predatory. By noon, she'd packed the USB drive into her purse, a reluctant talisman of her own, and ventured out. The cafe he'd specified lay tucked in a forgotten corner of Wicker Park, a narrow brick storefront with steamed windows and the scent of fresh espresso bleeding into the downpour. Rain tapped a staccato rhythm on the panes as Monica pushed through the door, bells jingling softly. The space was intimate, worn wooden tables scarred by years of confidences. Mismatched chairs huddled under pendant lights that cast warm pools amid the gloom. A handful of patrons nursed lattes and laptops, oblivious to the storm. Outside, or the one brewing within her, Charles sat in the far corner, nursing a black coffee, his broad frame somehow diminished in a simple gray Henley and jeans. No suit, no armor. His eyes lifted as she approached, relief flickering across his face, chased by the weight of what he'd come to say. Monica, he said, standing halfway, gesturing to the seat opposite. Thank you for coming. She slid into the chair, water dripping from her coat onto the floorboards. The air between them hummed. With unspoken edges, mutual respect from their charged encounters, now laced with the tension of truths half buried. You left a note under my door. That's bold. A wry smile tugged at his lips, though his eyes stayed serious. Desperate, maybe. After last night. I couldn't let you slip away. Not without talking. He paused, the reins patter filling the silence, then leaned forward, voice gentle but unyielding. You're not just a waitress. You're Monique Carter. The name hit like a slap. Her real name spoken aloud after years in exile. Denial surged, automatic, a reflex. honed in shadows. I don't know what you're talking about, she said. Too quickly, her fingers tightening on her purse strap. That's not me. You have the wrong person. Charles held her gaze. Unflinching, pulling a slim folder from his messenger bag, the printouts from the archives, edges curling slightly in the damp. I dug into C-loops. History. Old files, redacted ones. Your name's there, Monique. Erased but not gone. The prototype, the conference. My mother remembered you. And that demo. At the gala? Your handwriting. Your code. His tone softened further, not accusation, but invitation. Talk to me, please. The dam cracked under the weight of his quiet insistence, the rain mirroring the storm inside. Tears. Pricked, hot and unwelcome, as the word she'd swallowed for 2 years clawed. Free. She looked away, toward the streaked window, voice breaking on the first. Confession. It was mine. All of it. I poured everything into. C-loop, nights, doubts, dreams of making the world hear the silent. For people. Like your mother. A sob escaped, muffled by her hand. Then Greg Morrow came. Charming, promising partnership. I trusted him. Shared the code. The vision. And when it launched as theirs. She trailed off, the humiliation flooding back, the leaked emails, twisted to paint her as the thief, the viral posts calling her a fraud, a diversity hire gone wrong, the job offers evaporating, friends ghosting, her face splashed across tech forums. With venomous glee. They fabricated it all, accusations of data theft. Planted evidence. I lost everything. My career, my name, my faith in anything. So I ran. Became Monica. Hid in plain sight, serving the people who never saw me. Her voice dropped to a whisper, raw with the ache of it. It wasn't just theft. It was erasure. Like I never existed. Charles listened, unmoving. His jaw clenched so tight the muscle ticked. Fury built in his eyes, not at her, but at the rot he'd uncovered, the family empire's gleaming facade cracked to reveal the maggots beneath. God, Monique, Monica, they're monsters. He said, voice low and laced with rage. Greg, my father's shadow, he didn't just steal your work. He weaponized it, built our success on your ruins. And I defended that success, blind to the cost. He slammed a fist. Softly on the table, the impact muffled by the folder, his composure. Fracturing. How many lives like yours got crushed under Moroteca's boot? It's corruption, pure and vile, and it makes me sick. The emotional core of it. Landed between them, his anger a mirror to her grief, forging a bridge in the wreckage. Vulnerability followed, his shoulders slumping as he met her eyes. Stripped bare. I've been complicit in the company's blindness, he admitted, the words heavy as confession. I inherited power I never questioned. Rode the wave, made the deals, all while it drowned people like you. You made me see what it cost, not just you, but everyone silenced for profit. His hand reached across the table, hesitating before covering hers, warm and steady. I'm sorry. For all of it. In that touch, the bond shifted, mutual respect blooming into something deeper, tentative tendrils of trust weaving through the tension. Her guarded heart stirred, sensing not pity, but partnership, his probing curiosity softening into protective resolve. The rain eased to a drizzle, the cafe's warmth wrapping them like a fragile cocoon. Charles squeezed her hand, voice firming with purpose. I vow it, I'll uncover the truth officially. Pull every string, drag it into the light. You won't fight alone. Monica pulled back gently, fear flickering amid the warmth. Greg Morrow destroys anyone who threatens him, she warned, her tone edged with the scars of survival. Don't make me watch it happen again. He nodded, undeterred, the vow sealing between them like a pact in the storm's aftermath. How far would you go for justice? Share your thoughts in the comments. The rain had cleared by the time they parted, leaving the streets slick and reflective under sodium lamps. Monica returned to her apartment, the cafe's warmth lingering on her skin like a brand. Charles's vow echoed, "I'll uncover the truth officially," a lifeline she'd grasped despite the warnings clawing at her throat. Sleep came. Fitfully, dreams tangled with code and courtroom shadows, but morning brought a shift, not fear but fire. For 2 years, silence had been her cage. Now, cracks formed in the bars. She rose, brewing coffee strong enough to steel her nerves, and pulled the USB drive from its hiding spot. The prototype files glowed on her laptop screen, her work untainted, a voice reclaimed in pixels. If necessary, she whispered to the empty room, "I'll testify. Let them hear me." Courage, long dormant, stirred like embers fanned to flame. Publicly, Monique Carter, rising from the ashes. Across the city, Charles dove into the fray with methodical fury. The penthouse became command central. Laptops arrayed like soldiers, screens flickering with encrypted drives and forensic software. He started with the digital evidence, server logs from the archives, tracing C-Loop's evolution back to Monique's submissions. Timestamps lied, but metadata didn't. Her originals uploaded weeks before Moroteca's in-house pivot. Then, the whistleblower files, anonymous drops from a disgruntled engineer, forwarded via secure channels after a late-night forum. Scour PDFs of deleted Slack threads, where Greg had barked orders. Scrub Carter from everything. Make it clean. Internal emails followed, a damning chain. Greg to his father, Charles's late uncle, plotting the scandals. Rollout, fabricated leaks to TechCrunch, payoffs to silence rivals. Each piece slotted into a dossier, ironclad and incriminating, Greg's erasure of Monique. Not a mistake, but a masterpiece of malice. By midday, the corporate tension thickened like fog rolling off the lake. Whispers slithered through Moroteca's halls, servers humming with unusual queries, executives trading sidelong glances over lukewarm lattes. "Bridges is digging," murmured a VP in the break room, voice low under the hum of the espresso machine. Challenging the board? Over what? Old code. Rumors metastasized. Charles plotting a coup, airing family laundry at the next quarterly. Stock tickers twitched on trading floors. Analysts pinged alerts. Sensing blood in the water. Charles felt it too, the air in the tower electric. With unease. But he pressed on, blinders tight against the gathering storm. The confrontation came. Unannounced, Greg Morrow's shadow falling across his office threshold like a verdict. Silver hair impeccable, suit armor of Seville row wool, Greg carried. A crystal tumbler of bourbon despite the hour, his signature, a prop for the patriarch he played so well. "Charles, my boy," he drawled, settling into the leather guest chair without invitation. "You've been busy. Archives. At dawn? Not your usual golf and deals rhythm." Charles closed his laptop. With deliberate calm, the dossier's weight invisible but palpable. "Needed clarity, uncle. On C-Loop." Greg's laugh was a rumble, avuncular poison. He swirled the bourbon, eyes sharp as scalpels. "Ah, that old ghost. Look, I know the gala stirred things, your waitress, charming as she is. But some skeletons are best left buried. Here's the deal, silence on this, and we expand your stake. 20% bump, board seat locked. Morotech soars, you lead the charge. Some truths are too expensive, Charles. They tank stocks, fracture families." The manipulation hung there. Velvet-gloved extortion, Greg's gaze steady with the confidence of a man who'd crushed dreams before breakfast. Profit for peace, Erase Monique again for the Empire's gleam. Charles met it head-on. Leaning forward, voice steel-edged. Integrity is more expensive when you lose it. The words landed crisp, a line drawn in the sand. Greg's smile faltered, bourbon pausing mid-sip, but Charles pressed. You stole her. Work, fabricated the fall. Erased a brilliant mind for your ledger. No deal. The truth comes out. Greg rose slowly, tumbler clinking on the desk like a gavel. Foolish boy. Your father wouldn't, but Charles cut him with a raised hand, the room crackling. The uncle departed with a curt nod. The doors click a promise of retaliation, but Charles exhaled, unshaken. The storm was here, he'd summoned it. That evening, from the penthouse's shadowed desk, Charles composed the leak. Not all, enough to ignite. An anonymous drop to Reuters, redacted emails, whistleblower snippets, the NDA's underbelly. Moroteca's accessibility AI built on stolen innovation? The story broke at dusk, headlines rippling across feeds like shockwaves. Stocks dipped, phones erupted in the C-suite. Crisis mode engulfed the tower, PR scrambling, lawyers dialing, Greg's fury a thunderhead on the horizon. Charles watched from above, the city lights a battlefield, Monique's courage his north star. What would you leak first in a corporate takedown? Comment your strategy. The leak hit like a thunderclap, Reuters headline splintering the dawn across global feeds. Moroteca's star AI, innovation or intellectual heist. By mid-morning, the innovation tower thrummed with chaos, reporters clustering at the gates like wolves scenting blood, stock tickers plunging in crimson streaks, executive assistants fielding calls with voices frayed to whispers. Charles arrived under a phalanx of security, the lobby a gauntlet of flashing cameras and shouted questions. Mr. Bridges, is the C-Loop scandal true? What's your stake in the cover-up? He pushed through, jaw set, the dossier clutched under his arm like a grenade. Monique's face, Monique's fire, fueled him, her warnings about Greg a shadow at his heels. The boardroom showdown loomed, emergency session convened under the media's unblinking glare. No more shadows. Today, the empire cracked open. The boardroom occupied the tower's pinnacle, a glass-walled sanctum with panoramic views of Lake Michigan's restless gray. Mahogany table gleamed under recessed lights, leather. Chairs arrayed like thrones for the 12 souls who steered Moroteca's fate. They assembled in tense fragments, silver-haired VPs nursing black coffees, a token woman in pearls scrolling her phone with feigned calm, the CFO's tie. Askew from frantic damage control. Greg Morrow held court at the head bourbon. Already half-drained, his patrician features etched with controlled fury. Whispers died as the doors sealed, the room's hush amplifying the distant clamor below. Charles entered last, his presence a ripple through the assembly. Gentlemen, ladies, he began, voice steady as he claimed his seat. We're here because the truth has teeth, and it's biting. Greg's laugh scraped the air, dry as old bones. Truth? Or your little stunt, Charles? That leak, sloppy, desperate. We've got lawyers circling. It'll blow over by lunch. The door swung open again, unbidden, and the room inhaled sharply. Monica stepped in, poised in a tailored navy sheath that echoed her waitress uniform simplicity, elegant, unyielding. Beside her, Marguerite Morrow glided with quiet ferocity, silver hair pinned back, pearls a stark contrast to the storm in her eyes. The board gasped, a collective intake, the waitress. Forks pausing mid-air, phones forgotten. Whispers erupted. What's she doing here? Bridges's pet project? Monica met their stares, chin lifted, the weight of 2 years' silence. Sloughing off like old skin. Courage wasn't absence of fear, it was this, walking into the den, voice ready to roar. Marguerite signed to Charles. First, her hands slicing the air, for her. For us. He nodded, rising. To pull out chairs, the gesture a silent alliance. Monica settled beside him. The USB drive a cool anchor in her palm, her heart a war drum. The board's eyes darted, confusion, disdain, a flicker of intrigue. Greg's gaze narrowed, venomous. This a circus now, Charles? Bringing servers to the table. Inventors. Charles corrected, his tone brooking no dissent. Monique Carter, Dr. Carter, to present on C-Loop's true origins. The name rippled. Recognition dawning for some, erasure lifting like fog. Monica stood, the projector humming to life at her cue, her voice clear, uninflected, a blade. Honed in hiding. 2 years ago, I developed the C-Loop algorithm at Stanford. Sign-to-speech translation, capturing not just words, but intent, the poetry of gesture. The screen bloomed with evidence, time-stamped code commits. From her university server, predating Moroteca's filings by months, email. Chains with Greg, her eager shares marked confidential, for collaboration. Prototype demos, her younger face earnest, hands signing the future hears. The silent. This was my work. Shared in good faith. Then stolen. Twisted into scandal. Murmurs swelled. Fabrication. One VP muttered. Proof? Challenged another. Monica advanced the slides. Metadata unassailable. Hashes matching the leaked files. Her digital signature woven through the core code. The room shifted. Discomfort settling like ash. Greg surged to his feet. Face flushing crimson. Bourbon forgotten. Lies. All of it. Doctored. Desperate. This woman's a fraud. A disgruntled opportunist clinging to coattails. We built C-Loop from the ground up. Any contribution was incidental, tainted by her breach. His accusation hung, a venomous fog, the board teetering, loyalty to the old guard clashing with the glaring proofs. Monica's pulse thundered, but she held, eyes locking on Greg's. Erasure incarnate, the man who'd scripted her fall, now scrambling to rewrite it again. The air thickened, the lake's wind rattling the glass like impatient witnesses. Applause thundered genuine and warm, as Monique stepped down, the weight of CEO lifting rather than crushing. Charles lingered at the edge of the crowd, his presence a quiet anchor amid the swirl. He'd resigned from Morotech weeks prior, the board's reluctant nod a concession to the shifting tides. No dramatic exit, just a letter citing new horizons, his shares divested ethically, funneled into seed funding for ventures like this. Investor now, partner in truth, his capital backed the Loft servers, his networks opened doors to beta testers. But it was more, late nights brainstorming code ethics, walks along the lake debating integrity's cost. Their bond, forged in rain-soaked confessions, had deepened into something profound, respect as bedrock, tension alchemized into tenderness. He caught her eye across the room, a half-smile saying proud, and she felt the flutter, familiar now, no longer laced with wariness. The press conference. Followed in the adjoining garden terrace, potted magnolias budding under the tentative sun, the city's skyline a jagged promise beyond. Microphones bristled. Like sentinels, questions flew sharp. Dr. Carter, how does it feel to reclaim your legacy? Moroteca's statement, enough? Monique fielded them. With poise, her responses measured, weaving vulnerability into strength. Then, Charles stepped to the podium, unscripted, his gray suit rumpled from the morning's chaos, eyes holding the room's collective breath. I've spent years building. On foundations I didn't question, he said, voice low but carrying the wind off the lake underscoring his words. Moroteca's empire, my inheritance, was built on stolen innovation. Dr. Monique Carter's brilliance. Powered C-Loop, our so-called breakthrough, while we buried her name under lies. And scandals we orchestrated. Murmurs swelled, cameras whirred. He paused, gaze finding Monique's, unflinching. I was blind to it, complicit. In the silence. No more. Today I confess, we wronged her and through her. Countless voices like my mother's. Nelson Dynamics isn't just a company, it's atonement. Her work deserves the light we denied it. Monique Carter is the innovator who changed the world, first. The admission landed like a stone in deep water, ripples cascading worldwide. Tweets ignited, #Reclaim Carter. Trending by noon, op-eds drafted in real time, praising the confession's raw edge. Monique's name restored, not as victim, but visionary, profiles in Wired. Invitations to TED, her MIT diploma dusted off for honorary nods. Tears pricked her eyes as Charles yielded the mic, his hand brushing hers in passing, a spark. Electric and sure. The conference dissolved into handshakes and champagne. Flutes, Marguerite pulling Monique aside to sign healed. We all are. Her embrace fierce, maternal, the threads of their unlikely kinship woven tight. That night, as the city exhaled into twilight, Charles led her to a quiet rooftop garden atop a Gold Coast high-rise, a hidden gem he'd reserved, strings of fairy lights twinkling against the emerging stars. No extravagance, a simple table draped in white linen, laden with takeout from a South Side soul food spot, fried green tomatoes, gumbo steaming in cast iron, cornbread golden and warm. Jazz drifted. From a portable speaker, Coltrane's saxophone a soft underscore to the lakes. Distant murmur. Chicago sprawled below, lights winking like conspirators in their shared secret. They ate incompanionable. Quiet at first, forks clinking, the air between them thick with unspoken depths. Monique savored the spice, the normalcy a balm after the day's whirl. Charles watched her, that probing gaze softened now, laced with the vulnerability he'd bared in boardrooms and bedrooms alike. You were magnificent today, he said finally, setting down his napkin. Not just the launch, the everything. Walking into that fire, coming out forged. She smiled, faint lines of fatigue etching her face, but her eyes alight. We did. Together. The words carried weight, their partnership no fairy tale, but earned through storms of doubt, nights of unraveling scars. He'd proven himself not in grand gestures, but steady ones, quiet support during depositions, celebrating small code breakthroughs with late-night toasts. She trusted him now, the walls crumbled to shared ground. He rose, circling the table. To kneel before her, the city's hum fading to a hush. No ring in velvet, no flash, just a small wooden box, carved by hand, containing a band of white gold, etched with subtle loops, echoing sea loops' elegant curves. Simple, sincere, mirroring her own unadorned grace. Monique, Monica, you've taught me that. Love and truth speak the same language, he said, voice rough with emotion, eyes holding hers like a vow. No empires, no erasures. Just us, honest, whole. Marry me? Build this future, every messy, brilliant step. Tears blurred her vision. Not of loss, but fullness, the proposal a reflection of their journey, integrity over ostentation, heart over hierarchy. She nodded, pulling him up into an embrace, his arms wrapping her close, the box warm between them. Yes. She whispered against his shoulder, laughter mingling with sobs. In every language. They kissed under the lights, slow and deep, the rooftop a private cosmos, love's quiet crescendo after justice's roar. Later, as the night deepened, Monique slipped away to the garden's edge, Charles dozing contentedly on a cushioned bench nearby. Marguerite had joined them unannounced, her arrival a soft knock, and a sign couldn't miss this, her eyes twinkling with foreknowledge. They stood shoulder to shoulder now, the older woman's wrap draped over both, gazing at the city lights, a tapestry of resilience, flickering against the dark. Skyscrapers pierced the velvet sky, the azure pearl a distant gleam amid the sprawl, memories no longer chains but chapters closed. Monique lifted her hands, signing to Marguerite with deliberate grace, the gestures flowing like river. Water finally freed. We're finally heard. Marguerite's response was a squeeze of her hand, then her own signs, luminous in the glow, and speaking. Forever. The wind carried there. Silent Symphony Lakewood, the future unfolding not as conquest, but harmony, a world bridged, voices entwined, the silenced singing at last.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If this story moved you, the next one will hit even deeper. It's more gripping, more unexpected, and waiting for you right now. Don't hesitate. Click the video on your screen, and I'll see you in the next story.